coming back to your point of while you're playing, I didn't really have a big fear of what I'm going to do after, because I always, when I went into football, I thought, if I can have 2 years playing, have 2 years off work, and I'll go and work again. And I was just fortunate, it just sort of went on and on and on. Brian Gale was the captain, so he went to this pub and he go, "What do you want to drink?" And I said, "Orange and lemonade." He went, "Okay." And orange and lemonade and 17 lagers. Did that, went out for a night with the boys, trained the next day, and then that was it. That was on the Wednesday. They said come up on the Monday. Signed the contract on the Monday and played against Liverpool reserves on the Monday night. Jamie Redknapp, John Barnes played. A completely different mindset of you've got to go in, you've got to adapt, and you've got to adapt quickly. So, but it was nuts. That thing of suddenly you watch Match of the Day and you're on it. You're running a business in Brighton. You've got to be the marketeer, you've got to be the HR guy, you've got to be the money guy, you've got to be the sales guy, and you need support.
If you could pick out one highlight, what would it be and why?
Probably.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. Through sharing the stories of our guests, I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey. Okay, I'm just going to say something about one of our sponsors, Riverval. The world of cars, vans and minibuses is often a pain point for many of us. The hassle of finding the right vehicle, let alone looking after it, are all more things to add to our lists as busy people. Riverval's mission is to make motoring manageable, and that's why they provide leasing, purchasing, servicing and vehicle management. So whether you have one family car or a fleet of vans for your business, Riverval are your trusted vehicle supplier. Visit www.riverval.co.uk. Okay, let's jump back to the podcast. Okay, welcome to the first episode of the newly rebranded Different Hats podcast. And I could not think of a better guest to kick off the new series. He's someone that has worn many different hats over his career, from commodities trader to professional footballer, from commercial manager at his former club, Brighton Hove Albion Football Club, to running his own business development consultancy. He's someone that will need little introduction as Sussex's most well-connected man, but someone over the years who has supported me, advised me, and become a really close friend. I'm, of course, talking about the legend that is Dodge, the one and only, Mr. Paul Rogers.
Lovely intro, Sam.
Mate,
Thanks for the invite.
Mate, welcome to the podcast. He's brilliant. So, look, wow, how long have we known each other? It must be going back about 10 years, I guess.
Yeah, around some, I think, when I think you turned up at the football club with your 11s T-shirt range. I think that was and you were running that alongside the salon, and I think you were pals with Gordon Greer. Yeah, and that's how we met, mate, to get on the.
That's what I mean, mate. Even then, I remember you supporting me, like, mate. Bring you up any chance you. Yeah, I'll chuck a tea. Took me in the changing room. You would put the T-shirt on for me. We've got a couple of pictures and managed to get that in the club shop actually.
Yeah.
For a bit, which was
one of your many hats.
Yeah, it's been a few over the years, mate. We'll move on. Well, mate, listen, I'm genuinely really grateful, one, for your support over the years, but obviously getting to know and become really good mates, and really honoured to obviously have you on and have a chat with you today. And could not think of a better way to kick off the new series. So let's get cracking, shall we?
Let's go.
Look, I've started this for the new series. I come up with this new idea, and this is something I wanted to do, and I'm going to chuck this one in, and we do something called Our Life in 60 Seconds. So I set my little timer, and we're just going to go. We'll delve into it afterwards, but on your 60 seconds, just tell me something from your childhood that has helped shape who you are today. Go.
I think it's probably around the work ethic. You know, I grew up in Surrey, had older brother, older sister, mum and dad, and they did that, worked 2 jobs at the time. So dad was an insurance broker and then did a cleaning gig in the evening, which mum helped with. She worked during the day. I think it was that, around everyone has a story, but there's not a load of cash swilling around, so it's the ability to go and do different things, and the work ethic of having a 9 to 5 and then go and do something else from 7:30 till 9 o'clock. I think that is pretty much the start point for me and my brother and my sister, really.
Nice. And then what? Let's delve a little bit more into that. Talk to me more about what was life like growing up for Paul Rogers. Was football always a big thing for you?
Massive. There's a load more different things kids can do these days than what we had back then. Sound like an old. It is a generational thing. I had an older brother who was 16 months older than me. He liked football but didn't love football, so we always had this deal that, you come down the rec for an hour and a half and then we can play cars or do something else for an hour and a half. So we always ended down the park for 3 hours and play cars for 10 minutes. But we grew up in Surrey. I said, mum and dad both working, older sister. Fairly simple, normal life for a lot of people. That was sort of, 70s. School was school. Everyone had different levels of enjoyment around school.
Did you like school?
I like being at school. I've got there's 6 of us, 5 really close friends. So we went to school together when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They were still my pals today. Loved that thing of being with my pals. So, and we're all in the same classes for everything. So, maths, English, geography, PE. Loved the environment at school, but not massively into the curriculum. We all just did things that we did well in, things that we were good at and we enjoyed. So I loved, maths, English, geography, PE. That was 4 things. If I could have spent my whole school life doing those 4 things, it would have been brilliant. But you have to do something else and something else and something else that you're not so interested, that you don't give your full attention to, I guess.
Because it's weird, isn't it? Like again, I always talk about education system and stuff, and we've got such an archaic system, the way it works, that, and it's difficult. Look, people have got to have fundamentals, right? And I get that, but it's looking at trying to navigate around that, and actually, wouldn't it be better if we created a society and a curriculum necessarily where it did just tap into what people enjoy, what they're good at, and then they would progress in that way? Because how many kids just can't engage with that education system? It's just, like obviously you got kids as well, and they've grown up and gone through school. What's your thoughts on it now, like where we are?
I think you have to have a base. So to start off, you have to do the basics, but within 2 or 3 terms, if Sam Thomas is going to be interested in physics or is going to concentrate on physics. Is it 2 terms? Is it 3 terms? Is it 4 terms? You've got to give himself an opportunity to understand all the different levels. But that thing of expecting everyone to be at a level on all different things, everyone's wired differently. We've spoken about that. You can put someone in an environment and they'll absolutely fly. Put the same person in a different environment and they're just like, don't get it. You've got strengths and I'll have things that, not manual, but like instruction, putting furniture together, electrical work. I just go,
forget about it.
No, I can't. It's not me. If you say dig a hole, look, I know how to do that. Do you know what I mean? If you say dig it for 9 hours, I'll dig it for 9 hours. But the mechanical bit of doing stuff and following instructions is just not me, and it's the same with a lot of people. So,
mate,
but
you speak to Kelly. DIY, mate, forget about it. I can't even picture up.
But
I can cook a good meal, so swings and roundabouts.
Someone told me years and years ago that you don't have to know how to do it yourself, but you have to know someone who does.
Mate, I love that.
So you can get by like that.
Absolutely. But then, so when, so growing up, and the football side, I guess concentrating on the football side, was that something at a young age that you thought would be, was that in your mindset, I'm going to have a career out of that?
No. I think it's very different then. You played football because you enjoyed it, played with your mates, got you outside. Football was like everything because there was just less opportunities, I think, when we're at that age. Never ever thought that, I'm going to go and be a footballer or whatever. I think when you look back, it was probably more difficult to do it then because we grew up sort of South East London, Croydon leagues, that sort of thing. There was one Chelsea scout, one Palace scout. So he was covering. You had to be top to get an opportunity to do it now. It's very different now because, the way the football industry's grown, the academies, the development centres, if you look at any kid playing football 9, 10 now, someone would have seen them. So I think it was different then. I just didn't think it was definitely not on a career path of, right, I'm going to be a footballer or a cricketer or a rugby player. It was just you did it because it was fun and you enjoyed it and you were with your pals. That's what it was.
And do you think that's like, it's a shame because there's part of me that feels like that's got lost a little bit, like that, just going over the park at 9 o'clock in the morning in the summer holidays and playing till it got dark with your pals all day.
Yeah.
I look now and I just don't see it as much. I don't know, maybe like my kids, they've just started to get into it a little bit. Like Sienna's just started to play for a little team, which is great, and I'm excited about that. But you just don't see it as much now because there's so many more distractions, computer games and everything else that comes with it. Do you think that has been lost a little bit?
I think it's options, isn't it? Kids, they might have played football 25, 30 years ago. They might not have wanted to, but it was the only thing to do. So I think a lot of it is around choices. I think you've touched on something there that we played football because you enjoyed it, and you look at some of the kids now, 10, 11, 12, probably can't go down to the rec, whatever, because whether they're in academy or development centre, I think that's changed where you used to just play football because you wanted to and it's fun. Now, even at that level, so much goes into it to develop the players, to get them to the next one, that you can see a club's investing in a player. They don't want them distracted by playing other football or listening to other coaches who are perhaps not as far up the chain as the club coaches potentially.
Yeah, no, I get it. We used to show last year, I'll go back and look, and I just used to love it. That was it. And what I love as well, and I've got the same, like we've spoke about this a bit offline, like having those pals that especially in football, from school, whatever, that you've grown up with, they're like, you could pick up the phone to them tomorrow and it'd be like you see them yesterday, do you know what I mean? And there's something magical about that, isn't there? And you get that, I'm assuming as well, and I've got the same, like that, when you play football, whatever level, just having that team thing around you, having them people that you build relationships within that thing is amazing.
It's the same at every level. So the same stories, the same relationships you have playing for old Brightonians on a Sunday morning are the same as what you have in, a pro club. You build those relationships quickly. You're all put in this pot, and you have to build a group within that group. And that's one of the best things of being involved in team sport is, and like we said before, everyone's wired differently. So you've got to treat people a little bit differently than others. You can't just go, right, these are the rules. There's always some flex, or you don't get that bit, or whatever. That's the beauty of, and the difficulty of trying to get a successful team is trying to get the right people and the right balance of people together.
Because I guess that's where the great managers, the Fergusons and people like that, come in, knowing how to, again, back to people, knowing how to manage people, how to deal with people and get different personalities and different characters within a room, but actually getting them all on the same hymn sheet. And it's that's why I love the analogies between sport, especially football and business as well. There's so many comparisons between the both, isn't there? Whether you're leading a team on a football pitch or within an organisation, it's the same type of principles, I guess.
Yeah, you've got to get everyone on board and with the same objectives, same directives. Again, sometimes you have to treat people a little bit differently, but they got to see the way, the route of travel, and keep everyone on side.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's talk. So, leaving school and talk to me about then your time in the city and stuff like that. What? Because you was a commodities trader for a bit, for a few years. Where in the 80s, like what?
Yeah. So
tell me how you got into that.
This would have been 82. Straight from school. Again, lucky really. Family friend was running a commodities company up in London. They had an opportunity as a messenger to go in there. So that was just the messenger. So my job, I think I was getting 4,200 a year for that.
Nice.
Train up to London Bridge. The office was at St Thomas Street, and it was delivering checks to the clearing house, going to other brokers, picking up checks, come back to the office. Then you get your next job, which was moving all the boys' cars. So it was the old days of the parking meters and the 20p's. So you had a bag of 20p's, and me and my pal, who were really close friends still, we started work on the same day, both as messengers. So we had, do you remember the first mobiles? The Storner phone. So
pull your back out, just try and answer it.
We had 6 sets of keys, I think. The MD's, the finance director. So one had a Porsche, one had a Celica Supra, another one had a Golf, and you'd be in the phone with the big one. Right, I'm moving off this meter, so we'd be in Lloyd's Avenue. I'd pull out, he'd pull into that one. Logistics, just office dog's body, if you like. You think you're done, and then you go back to the office and you go, I want a sandwich from this shop, I want a sandwich from that shop. So go and do that. But it was all around earning your stripes, if you like. Building relationships across the business. You got to get on with everybody. So we didn't do that for long, 2 or 3 months, and then we got sort of shipped up to admin. So then you're checking trades from all the different departments of the commodity company. So the potato traders, cocoa traders, coffee traders, gas oil traders. So we were checking the old computer runs of paper, the old reams of paper. Checking their trade sheets. So when they're on the floor, they would trade that. They, sold 10 lots of November gas oil at $252 a barrel, whatever. And then it comes out goes to the clearing house, comes back, and then you have to check their trades against the physical trades that were done. So that was that. Just a sort of admin role within that, and still trying to we still had to do the check runs everywhere. And we always made that a bit of a competition of the record to get from St Thomas Street to paying the check at Fenchurch Street was 12 minutes.
You was even running back then, Dodger. You run every day still. And
you had to run to get there and back in 12 minutes. But it's around that, relationships and accountability, because you had to be on it. From the accounting bit of it and the admin side of it, got an opportunity to go on the desk. So just doing some sort of, task with the traders of doing a little bit of trading, taking orders from clients, placing them with brokers. So that where that sort of attention to detail and accuracy and the numbers bit comes into play, because it is just, and time, you've got to be on it, because the phone was allowed to ring twice. If you miss the 2 rings, you got you got to clear. But it's around dealing with brokers, relationships with the brokers, accuracy about putting the order straight down to your guy, relaying that back that the trade's done, and then checking again that accountability and checking that everything's gone through clearing house how it should.
Because listening to you talk about that, I think about the conversations we've had about business in general, and where obviously the business you run now, and your numbers. You always say to me, got to get your numbers right. do your numbers, look at them, and blah blah blah. So there's so many, I guess, of skills from that early career that you still today, I guess, you take into.
Yeah, I think that's when you start your career. I was lucky. I worked with some really good people, as well as it was really, high pressure for these guys more so than me. They're dealing with discretionary accounts. They're dealing with clients' money. But it makes you really sort of focused around detail. And, if you made a mistake, it's your mistake. It's ownership of that, the accountability of your part within the group, which comes. It's all that team thing, like you touched on there. Football thing. Everyone's got to do their thing. Yeah. They've all got different things to do, but you've got to do it properly. Yeah. And it's so transferable to the business world. Yeah. But we had some really, really good people there that, again, 25, 30 years ago, still speak to them. They used to call me Buck, because Buck Rogers, obviously. So I was Buck, he was Freddie. Everyone had a nickname. Yeah. But it's a great time to be working up there, because it was just as the start of we went through that period of everything was paper manual to the big bang, if they like to call it then, and everything went sort of automated trading. Right. And it was a great time to be up there, because the boys were earning decent money, and it was all the time of privatisation to a certain degree. Everyone had, Lloyd's got privatised. Who's got a Lloyd's account? Because you could buy shares at a preferential number, that sort of thing, and trade in penny shares. So obviously, they're in that industry. They're gambling, trading all the time. So it's that thing of someone would trade penny shares, buy shares in the morning for a penny, and buy after lunch, just after lunch, they're 4p, and they go,
wow.
But it was a great time to work out there, and the best thing was the people. So many different characters that made it really fun.
Yeah, and especially I guess in what you'd have been obviously your early 20s, I guess, to be in around that.
Yeah, started 18 to 18 to 26. I think I was there.
Wow. And taking back to when you was growing up in school, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you left it? Was there anything? Because it's different having it. People have so many more people try and have that plan, or there's university, or there's a career path, or I'd like to get into that industry or whatever. But was it just, I have no idea, I'll just get out and get a job, that type of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. That was it. Like I say, it's a little bit different now, where things are planned a bit more. Yeah. People are looking at jobs now. Everything was about a career then. So I'm going to go and work in insurance, and I'll work there for 25 years, and then I'll retire, and then something else. I think that was the mindset of how it was then. Yeah. Now, people go, actually, I'll try that for 3 years. Change that. Let's do something else. Yeah. I think people are a lot more open around, the opportunities that are around now than what they were. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think, but then so you was up 18 to 20. So you was up there a good few years.
Yeah.
Trading and being involved in that environment. But like you said, something you look back as a fond period of your life, and something that I guess, especially from a business point of view, so many of those skills set you up for future, whether after football as well. I guess I get that. Because we'll touch on this a little bit later, but I guess for me, so many people, professional athletes, I guess, they start out, that's their career at the start, so they'll be professional athletes, and then they come out of that, no idea what they're going to do afterwards, and maybe don't even plan for that, because they think they're going to, I know money's a lot different nowadays, but even so, whatever, if you play at some lower levels, you'll get into that point where you go, what is afterwards? But I guess, did you not necessarily then have that fear or worry, or think when my career comes to an end at football, I've had some skills, I know what I can do, I can take that into...
Yeah, I always felt it was a little bit different, because as you're saying, these guys are in from
young.
14, 15.
Yeah.
What did amaze me when I was playing football about how many of the players actually didn't like football, and I just couldn't get my head around that, because growing up football was everything. But they've been in the system, they've been good at it, and it's become a bit of a job. So they're earning well. Because I used to say, I just see the game last night. I went, Sport Billy, you know. You go, did you not watch football? I went, no, I didn't watch it.
Wow.
Not loads, but you know, a chunk of people. But I suppose it's that thing around, if you've done something for long enough, it just becomes the norm and becomes a job.
Wow. Again, I can't comprehend that, because you go, I'm 44, and you go, all my life, all I wanted to do was become a professional footballer. You think, imagine having that opportunity to play that get paid to play. I remember getting me first 25 quid at Thamesmead, like, do you know what I mean, in my little brain. I thought, like, you know what I mean? But just doing something, you do it because you love it. You love football.
But we're doing the same as well. Alongside working, I was playing for Sutton United.
Right,
so I was getting the 6:42 training, the 8:12 home from London Bridge, and 3 times a week. And the Tuesdays and Thursdays, I did the early shift, so I could go and play Tuesday night or train Tuesday night and train on the Thursday. And the same thing, 4 quid was my first contract. Then it went to 7, then it went to 11, and then it went to a little bit more than 11. But that's just, you know, fitted in the work with the football. And coming back to your point of, while you're playing, I didn't really have a big fear of what I'm going to do after, because I always, when I went into football, I thought, you know, if I can have 2 years playing, have 2 years off work, and I'd go and work again. And I was just fortunate, it just sort of went on and on and on for a bit longer than I thought in the first place.
Amazing. Well, take me back then to that period where you're working and you get that opportunity, first professional contract to go and play football as a full-time professional, and take me back to that moment. How do you feel at that time? What goes through your head?
Dave Bassett was manager at Sheffield, so he called me at work. So obviously, you know people on the circuit. I got a call at work, so it's Dave Bassett, Sheffield United manager. I go, yeah, of course it is. And I said to him, do you mind giving me your number? I'll call you back. So I thought it was someone in there having a little giggle. So I rang back, and the phone went, Sheffield United Football Club.
Wow.
So he's got a lot of obviously Wimbledon is where he sort of made his name originally. We were in that sort of Sutton, we were in that same sort of region. He had players. Sheffield at the time didn't have a great load of money, so they were looking in a different pond to the other sort of first division.
What league would Sutton have been in at that time?
We were in the Isthmian Premier. Right. Yeah, so conference, one below the conference. So he rang, he said, we've been watching you, can you come to Bournemouth tomorrow and meet us at the Ferndown Hotel? Meet me and the chairman, Derek Dooley, who's no longer with us, absolute great man. Come down tomorrow and we'll talk to you about a contract, bring your kit, blah, blah. So went down the next morning, had to be there at 11, I think I got there at about 10 past 8 or something. Waiting for them. They'd been to Jersey, so they'd been to Jersey for a couple of days. They were flying over because they were playing Southampton on the Saturday. So it was a sit down with them. We want to offer you a contract. How much? Didn't have an agent. How much you earning? Let's start that conversation. So it was a go high. Told them the number, they went, that's not a problem. So we came up with a package of this per week, win bonus, goal bonus, relocation money, and you just go, really? A little bit. And that was the discussion. Spent a couple of hours there, stayed that night with the boys. We went out in Poole, actually. I roomed with a guy, John Pemberton, played for Palace. Still a really good pal now, so I roomed with him, and they were going out for a night to have a few beers because they had 4 days before they had to play. Brian Gale was the captain, so went to this pub and he go, what do you want to drink? And I said, well, orange and lemonade. He went, okay. And orange and lemonade and 17 lagers. so I'll have a laugh. I'm thinking they won't be drinking. I was playing Carl Shorten on the Saturday. We had a big game. But did that, went out for night with the boys, trained the next day, and then that was it. That was on the Wednesday. They said come up on the Monday. Signed the contract on the Monday and played against Liverpool reserves on the Monday night. Jamie Redknapp, John Barnes played. You know, you just go like 4 days from
having that conversation.
Yeah, went in next day. The MD, they love sport, love football, love rugby, and they loved horses. So the conversation was, we just go and give it a go, and if it doesn't work, come back.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
It was a sort of non-decision, really. But then the reality sets in of bought a flat, you know, got to rent the flat out, got to move up north, got to find somewhere to live. And it all happened in 3 or 4 days. Before the times of having a football liaison officer and that sort of thing, it was turn up. And that's why all the PAL guys are really close still, because we all sort of lived close to each other. And
yeah, because I guess it's a different environment. To like you said, everyone's agents and like you look, I'm sure at the top level now there's still, you know, that team culture and camaraderie. You've got to have that within a thing, but it's got to be a little bit more disjointed than what it used to be, compared to in respects to, you know, they're all there on their phones, they've headphones, and you look at those relationships. Maybe not as close potentially as what the relationships you built back then.
Yeah, I think you're right. The whole industry's just changed, you know, massively. And that thing of, you know, then the manager having total control of the football club, you know, who signed, how much we paid them, it's just not possible now.
Yeah.
You know, he was dealing with a squad of 18 players. Now, you know, at the top level, your squad is, you know, outside the Premier League squad, they've probably got another 25, 30 pros on top of that. So it is impossible to ever do it. And the numbers are changing, obviously, monetary-wise. So you've got to change. But I think you've done something there where we all lived closely. You know, the girls all, you know, families all had their own sort of network and all helped each other.
Yeah.
Because Sheffield at the time, I think there was 8 London lads that he'd taken up from Wimbledon, so they'd become a little group up in Sheffield. But people from everywhere, you know, people from Manchester moving over, people from Ipswich move over, and it was a really, really tight group, and a special group. One of the sort of best dressing rooms you've been in, and they were so good with me. A couple of my pals who I played with at Sutton went on to be pros elsewhere and had a completely different experience around you coming into a club and then being in football a long time going, you're after one of our jobs. So it was not exclusive, but you know, they looked after their own.
Had a little click as a
whereas Sheffield, where I went, and the group of people it put together were so sort of welcoming and inclusive that made it really easy to settle in, which was you know, important.
Because I guess that again, I'd be interested just from a mindset point of view. I guess that you go into that, obviously playing football at the level you did, even at Sutton, but then going up and becoming a professional footballer, playing with Sheffield United, going at, like you said, 2 things. I guess one, like you said, walking into that changing room that first time. Is that daunting? What's that like? How did you feel on that day? And then walking out that first game, going like you said, when you're mixing with people like John Barnes and Redknapp, like what's in your head at that point?
Imposter syndrome. We talk about that a lot. But
it's
that thing of, you know, I used to watch games, same as you, watch them on Sunday, and I remember we sat down just with the chairman at the time. There was a game on, West Ham were on against somebody, and I just said, "Oh, he's a good player." He went, "Well, he is if you give him that much time." it's just the pro game is, you're only as good as you're playing against this guy, so you just got to get over him. So it's that a completely different mindset of you've got to go in, you've got to adapt, and you've got to adapt quickly. He said to me at the time, sort of thing, we're not, you're not here as a, stopgap. We want to put you in the team. So you'd obviously seen something that I could do to help them. But you get the hang of it pretty quick. Although the first game, my debut was away at Luton. Cameo with Chris Kamara and all those, Mick Harford and Steen brothers and all that sort of thing. 20 minutes into the game, I'll play with Glyn Hodges, great footballer. I was playing in midfield with him. I went, I'm not going to make it to half time. He went, stand still for 5 minutes, just chill your beans. He's just running around like a...
Because the adrenaline...
I think that was it. You're caught up in it the first game. It just said, woohoo, stand still. And it doesn't take you long to find out what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And it's just so different, playing non-league, where I was, one of the better ones. And
all over the place running things,
to go and you're in your pecking order. You're, ability-wise, you're right down by the bottom. All these guys have been pros for forever, but it was really like focus on the things that you're good at. You got me in there to run around, get over people, get forward, get back. Just be the legs in there a little bit. So, but it was nuts. That thing of suddenly you watch Match of the Day and you're on it.
I can't, was there times that you were sitting there watching Match of the Day and you're on it, and especially in them early stages, I guess, was there them pinch me moments where you sort of sit there and go, I'm a professional footballer, I'm on Match of the Day?
And it was like that for a long time.
Really?
We had Luton. My opening games were, I think we had Luton away, Sheffield Wednesday away, big derby, 42,000 at Hillsborough, which we won. Then I think we had Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, which Man U was Keane, Robson, Pallister, Giggs, Ince, all of those boys. Arsenal with the back four and Ian Wright up front, and all those people you've been watching all the time. Suddenly you're in it, but you learn to just. Once the game starts, you're in it, and you learn to do that really quickly.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to, like you say, you just got to get over that, and that's your job now. Do you know what I mean? That's your job, but just a magical. It's got to be that sort of feeling, like you say. Once you've got over that, and you're in it, and then you're part of that team, and you're going out, and that. Take me back, like first goal. Again, them type of moments. Do you capture them in your head?
Yeah, you just remember. Fans remember much more about football than players do. Like now, do you remember that game? You go, no. But you remember those moments. I think it's a weird one once you're in it that you don't. You just go. Game done. You don't really savour the moments. We went to, first time we went to Anfield, like the iconic stadium. Like when we were growing up, the sports night on Tuesday nights with Liverpool playing, St Etienne and all this sort of thing, and you're going up, and you're going up steps, but you don't. It's a weird one. You're just in the zone of playing. Don't hear any crowd. Don't hear any of that stuff. It's much worse playing at Sutton, where they go, Rogers, you're not very good. Whereas in the big noise, you're fine. But it is just a thing if you just get in the zone and you're focused on what you have to do.
Wow. Because I want to touch on that as well about looking at, because I often talk something from the podcast I've tried to listen to, and one of the things I've learned of trying to be a little bit more, I guess, trying to be more in the moment, wherever I am on the journey of my career, life in general, but trying to be in that moment. I'm conscious of, within a football career like that, looking back at it now, is there points where you can go, was I in the moment? Did I appreciate them times as much as I could have, or are you saying, like you said, it was just a job and you just get used to it and it's just a daily thing?
Yeah, I think you don't appreciate it as much at the time because it's that thing. You got to win. You got to keep your place in the team. You know, that thing of you win on a Saturday, brilliant. So you can enjoy it for 2 hours, and then it's like Tuesday. We've got Tuesday training tomorrow, and that's the biggest difference between pro football and non-league football. Is you know, I was working. You know, the football thing was the fun bit. You wanted to win every game, but if you went to Slough and lost 2-1, there isn't 30,000 people killing you. It is what it is. But when you move to the program, it's just relentless, just one thing after another, and you don't appreciate the good bits. And like you say, being in the moment, that thing of going. We went to Liverpool and won. You know, they scored after 3 minutes. You go, this could be painful, and we won 2-1. Come off the pitch, clap the fans, go in, get changed, worry about the next one. You know, that thing, you don't really savour those good times enough, because there's always something. There's always the next one and the next one.
Yeah, I get that. I guess, like you say, and it's got to be like that because you've got to keep at that level, haven't you? And the only way you keep at that level is to remain focused and do that. So it's almost like you say, that game's gone. Yeah. Great that we won, but even like you say, when you win a cup, a title, or you know, in the playoffs, whatever those periods are, it's still. I remember listening to, I think Rio Ferdinand talked about it on.
He was quite good.
On one of average, but he talked about it from the culture again back to what they'd done at Man United, where they won, like, it might have been the League Cup or something, but it was literally no one walked in and celebrated after. It was just because you had Champions League in 3 days, so this was just a bit of almost like a warm-up game. They've just won a trophy. And one of the guys, I can't remember who the player was that he mentioned, come in and was like, yeah, come on. And it was like, everyone looked round as if, like, we did. What, Champions League, like, you're not going to fit in here. It was that type of thing. You sort of go, God. But I remember listening to him talk about it. One of the things he goes, we had to be like that to achieve what we did, but you do look back and go, I wish I'd taken maybe a little bit of them moments just to savour and appreciate it. How magical, like you scoring at Wembley, like those type of things are they're magical moments that you sort of you can talk about now and you look back on, but being in that moment, and it's hard to navigate, I guess.
Yeah, look, when you're out of it and you look back, you think, oh, brilliant. You know, but at the time, you're in it. You know, the Wembley game, Wigan, we played Millwall in the auto windscreen, and we won that. Got straight on the coach, went straight back to Wigan because we were playing Northampton, I think, on the Monday night. So you can't have a drink.
Yeah.
Didn't have a party, didn't have a celebration, straight back on the coach to Wigan. As it turned out, we got to Northampton on the Monday and the game was called off because of rain. So
ouch.
We missed a night out. But it's only when you come out of it that you suddenly sort of sit back and go, "Oh, that was good," and that was good. But because you're on the track.
Yeah, it's what I find fascinating as well about you it's so understated, like how you are as an individual. Like you play professional football, and I remember the first time. I remember a friend of ours who you worked with, Matt Warren. I remember the first time you played golf in the golf league, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." Did you asked him about football, and he said, "Yeah, I play." I can't remember who he was playing for, like. One of the local teams, and he's like, "Did you play when?" You answered him with, "Yeah, played a bit local football."
It was local.
I remember him ringing me the next day. Can't believe I was talking to Paul Rogers last night. I asked him if he played a bit of football, but he told me he played local. Only Brighton over Albion. He's like, "Oh, felt like an absolute dickhead. He went because you're so, but like, and even when we was at the Ryder Cup thing, and we're sitting around talking and we're getting some of the videos. I mean, it's just incredible, like your journey and your career and the things you've achieved at that level of football is unbelievable. Like, and even like sharing a couple of stories now, like it must be amazing as an individual to look back as a life that you've lived so far, and you look back and go, wow. Do you still?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. You know, that thing about work, I've never felt like I've worked a day in my life, is the saying, but it felt like that. I've never one day got up thinking, got to go work. I loved the city thing. I loved the football thing. You know, the commercial thing I was doing after. I loved that. The gig I've got now with my Cube clients, you know, it's just you work with the right people, and it doesn't feel like work. That's I've been really fortunate in that respect.
And I guess again back to from you and getting to know you as I've done over the years. I guess that whatever it's been, like you said, trading, football, you're consulting now, the commercial, everything's people.
Yeah.
You are without a doubt one of the best people I know. Do you know what I mean? You get on with everyone, you know people. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you've built relationships. And but what's interesting as well, and listening to even from a young age, that you've done that right from being at school. Because look, now here you are in your 50s and still with those pals from school, and still with pals. You mentioned I moved to Sheffield. We've still got pals up there now from football, and have done, I'm sure, at each stage of that career. Just because you're a people person.
Yeah, I think we've spoken a lot. You know, it's one of the things we've said here. The relationships you build. Is it a skill? I'm not sure it's a skill. It's like some people are just wired differently. Like I say, I like doing that. I like finding out about people and what they do, and you know, the consultancy thing I've got now is so good. You never become an expert in everything, but you know, I know a lot about cars. You know, working with Vince and all the guys at Rivell. You know about the car industry, and you know, Matt and the guys at Structure know a little bit about, you know, telecoms and how that works, and you know, Harry at Wellesley with the finance product, and the legal guys, Hamed, and all these guys. You learn a lot about lots of different sectors, and I find that really, really interesting.
But then the common denominator between that is whatever industry you mentioned, 4 or 5 different industries there. The common denominator there is that actually people will still buy from people. So whether it's legal services that they're delivering, whether it's a car that they're selling, whether it's pensions or telecoms, you bring people together and people buy from people. So if you can get on with people, that's half the battle.
And that, you know, it's the same. You know, same with your friends and your connections. You gravitate to people that you like, and you've got a little bit about them, and have got similar interests. And that's how, you know, you've done it, and you know, I've done it over the years. That you build a network of people that are all, you know, really work hard. You know, most of them are sort of owner-operator businesses, so they're invested in what they're doing, and you know, they like a bit of, you know, fun along the way. But it's all, like you say, it's all about trust, and that's what sort of the football environment brought you around. You know, when I first went to Sheffield, you know, around, where'd you get your car? I'll go and get it from the guy at TC Harrison round the corner. And where'd you get your insurance? You go to this guy. You know, because football is so sort of insular in that respect, and you know, the trust is everything within the dressing room in football. So that's how, you know, that's how you build these little networks and communities of people. That's just follow that, as you've done. You know, there's so many little groups that we know
together.
We've got a little couple of circles, haven't we? And we've got a big section that cross over, and there's a load of people you know that I don't, and and similar. But
it's fascinating. I think, like, for me, the one thing I've learned, especially over the last 15 years, I guess, of being in business, is exactly that it's just about, and actually not recognising that early enough. I think for me, I didn't recognise that early enough, how valuable that can be. Just being a good person and building relationships is, like you said, whether it's a skill, it's just how you're wired as an individual.
Yeah.
But that's our business, that's our life in general.
And I think we're lucky down here. You know, the Brighton community, there's a lot of owner-operator businesses. Yeah. And even, you know, we know people are running same industries, but they're, you know, collaborative and they help each other. You know, that partnership piece is really important for, you know, what you're doing and what I'm doing to get the right people. But I think as a business community, Brighton's pretty unique, where, you know, it's difficult for people. You know, you're running a business in Brighton, you've got to be the marketeer, you've got to be the HR guy, you've got to be the money guy, you've got to be the sales guy, and you need support for doing all those different parts of the business.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Look, I want to move on. I want to talk about your time, obviously, as a commercial manager at the club as well, and obviously building the connection you did there. Just before we do, and we touch, I mean, we could do another 3 episodes on just the football career, I'm sure. But if you can, with football, just specifically, if you could pick out one highlight, what would it be and why?
Probably the second game for Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. You know, living in the city as well. There's 2 teams. You're either red or you're blue. Yeah. I don't think I was great first game. Second game I was good, or better. Yeah. You know, we just sort of click and you get a result, and then suddenly I'd probably been training with the boys then for probably 6, 7, 8 weeks, and it felt like that was the point where they knew I could do what I needed to do, and that sort of thing of obviously getting a result, winning there. Yeah. But that was the sort of thing that you think, actually, I can do this at that sort of level. I know it's only a couple of games in, but it just felt comfy, and that was probably the best, the highlights of it, because it happened so quickly. But that sort of cemented me in the team then for the rest of the
and I guess with that, would I be right in maybe thinking that actually from a belief point of view as well, that you've gone in and then that sets you up for the rest of your career, that you have gone in at that level and actually I can compete, and you look back, like you alluded to a little bit earlier about imposter syndrome, and that kicks in at different levels, at different people, at different times. But actually, that now I'm a professional footballer, I've got a professional contract, I've come and I've had an half decent game here. Yeah. And then your peers look around you and you go, yeah, he's all right, he's in. Yeah. And then so then wherever you go after that, you know that, of course, you've got to keep that level up, but you know that
and that's something I've built over that sort of 2 months that I'd got there. You know, sure. I could always run. So my thing was, technically I'm 10 years behind these guys. They've been pros for ever, so I always made sure that I was king of the bleep test. You know, that thing. They've been pros for years. They didn't care. So it was that thing. They'd get to level 12, level 13. They were just done. So I was like level 17.2 or something was the number. Just keep going, because I needed to have my bit of, right, I can do this. You look after that. I'll look after this bit. But that's, you know, doing a little proof piece to those guys that you belong a bit.
Yeah, I love that. Well, look, then obviously like we've obviously touched on the fact of, just because of the nature of the way you got into football, I guess slightly later, and the fact that I guess, like you said, almost every year was a bonus. It doesn't, you know, I went into it, we give it a go. If a couple of years it don't work out, then, you know, you knew you had that bit of a safety net to go back up in the commodities. But then obviously a career as long as you did have, then less of a fear of thinking. But then how does that then, being part of Brighton Hove Albion Football Club and then remaining on as the commercial manager or sales manager first, wasn't it, then commercial manager?
Yeah, so when you're playing football, you think you're Peter Pan, it's never going to end. You just go, you talk about, you know, training and all that sort of thing for players when they come out, but all the time you're involved in football, you've got to give that your 100% focus. It's really difficult to try and do something alongside it. But I was really lucky. So I retired at 38. And then the chairman, Dick, at the time said, do you want to get involved in coaching? No.
Not interested
it's just
you?
Not. I think it was that thing of being in pro football 11 years, lived in 6 different houses, moved around a bit. Kids were about then, so I wanted to sort of get settled.
Yeah.
And also that thing of when you're a manager, there's always these great success stories, but you forget about all these other 95 get sacked after 3 months, and then what do? Are you in Peterborough? Are you in Cambridge? Are you in Scunthorpe? Are you in Hull? So I thought I wanted something that I had more control of. So when they said about joining the sort of commercial team, that sort of fitted, my background to a certain degree. I was lucky enough to be captain there, so I got involved with quite a few bits with the sort of local businesses and sponsors, and had built up a bit of a network to know 30 or 40 people that used to come in the old hospitality unit, of which Darbs and those sort of guys were prominent in there. So I really fancied that and got working with Kevin Keane, really good guy. So he'd been in and around Brighton for years, local football, but he knew everyone as well. He was that network group that used to run Frenzy Albion,
sure.
which obviously Brad's taken over now, and his new guys, which has gone on from strength to strength. But Kev knew everyone, really helpful to me about settling in from that transition of, playing football to think I had a week off, but next day you're in the office at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
That's a killer.
Yeah, I was going to say.
When you come out of it, you get the standard letter from the club secretary saying your services are no longer required or your contract's not being renewed, and you go, it's like the old. Because once you've done the football, you're never ever going to do anything as good. Never ever. Whatever you do is never going to be as good as what your last 11 years was. So it's hard to do that.
I guess from a mental health point of view, a mindset point of view, because like you said, although you talked about it, although that 11 years, you look back and go, I maybe didn't appreciate them moments, or etc. You have still had a career where you've got up every day and played football.
Yeah.
So, although of course it's a job and you've got to be professional and you've got to do it because you've got to compete at that level constantly.
But every day was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like every day training. I'd drive to training giggling about what we're going to do. It's just such a great environment that nothing can ever touch it. So you come out of that and then suddenly, not just that, it's the finance piece as well. Look, very different 20 years ago to what it is now, but you're used to earning a number, and when football finishes your number drops to a different number. So there is sort of financial worries around, are we going to have the lifestyle that we've had for the last 7 years? So there's those things going into it as well, that thing of not having that everyday fun thing and having to just change from one zone from 1 week to the next about going in an office again, and that was really difficult.
Really?
Just that time thing. We're so lucky when you play football. You go in with your pals, kick around for a couple of hours, you get the best treatment ever. You've got a doctor on site, you've got a physio. I still see now Malcolm, it's the cheerleader, was brilliant, just kept everyone jollying along. Tell you what to eat, tell you what time to eat it, tell what colour t-shirt you have to wear when you eat it. all those things that suddenly stop and you've got to go again. I was lucky because I'd had that previously. So
I was going to say the transition for you
wasn't such a jolt. I knew what that thing was like, 9 to 5. I knew what it was like, but it does take you a time to get back in. And I just carried on playing non-league football. I went went to Worthing and played there to give me my football fix Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to go back to that old routine. And football makes you have routines. Like
I know you're a
yeah,
you're a routine guy. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it. We might have been out on the odd occasion and had 1 or 2 beers. You're still going to get up and do a 10k in the morning.
Yeah, probably not 10.
Yeah.
But it's that thing. Football gives you that discipline
sure.
of trying to look after yourself and make sure you allocate your time, because everything's, when you're playing, it's just timetables. You're doing this. So.
But again, does that just relating that again to where you are now with business and even your role at the football club as well? How much of that skill set's there from playing football and having that mindset as you've been able to transfer into where you are now?
Yeah.
Like, there must be so many, like you said, whether it be systems, whether it be, procedures, whatever that is.
I think it's around successes, isn't it? I was really lucky. So you come out of football, there's a great business community that Kevin had built up in and around Brighton, Crawley, those sort of areas. It was great transitioning me into that. Obviously helped him, another pair of hands, him running around like a Lou. I could help him with that. But your goals change, so it would be, I would go to, one of the first guys I went to see was Paul Goldsmith at IT First. Big, massive Albion fan. I had the spreadsheet of contacts and to ring up, can I make an appointment to see Paul Goldsmith? And me having played football helps you get in the door. And the successes were, he's involved with the football club to a certain level. Can you push him to get him to do a bit more? Or, it's that partnership relationship thing, and your successes are measured in different things.
Sure.
And it was around, building partnerships, building growth for the commercial team. Because that was obviously when we were based down in Withdean in the porter cabin with 120 people upstairs.
Bit different from the MX, no?
Mad. Yeah, but that was, it was such a fun time. Everyone's talked about Withdean, and when I went to watch my lad play there the other day, and going, how as at one point championship team played at that ground, it's just nuts. But that's why everyone, comes back to that piece. Everyone pulling in the same direction of working together, working closely to get to your destination.
Because you even get the feeling like with the club, and obviously the ambition with Tony Bloom, etc. in there, and the investment, and that going to the Amex and that transition, because you was there obviously from the Withdean going up to the Amex, in that sense that the huge ambitions for the club to get to the Premier League, to get to Europe, which they've obviously achieved now. But it starts from them strong foundations there at the club.
And that, we had a good, at Withdean, it's one offering, isn't it? It is what it is. And, we did worked with the company that sold all the seats, the Aussie Ash Donlan and Empire Stadiums. Great guys, and we'd never been able to do it without them. Just because the amount of people that you needed to service these, presentations. I'm sure you came up to one of them that we used to have up in the porter cabin.
Yeah.
But we went from, I can't remember what the last game was.
Against Dagenham. Against Dagenham, beat Dagenham 4-3, I think.
I think it was like a 13-week period that we went from having 120 people upstairs with Dean Harding doing the catering, 100 people in the bar downstairs, to the first game at the Amex 13 weeks later. I think it was the Tottenham friendly. That we had something like 3,200 people in hospitality.
Wow.
And not just our team, the whole operations team and all the different ticketing, to get that going. We went in that first game, we and there were things that weren't right, and there always was going to be the rate of knots that we were moving. But to do that, it's one of the best, as a project to be involved with. It's just incredible. Met some great people, all the way through that. again, that thing about not feeling like it's work. So much fun, and obviously what they've done now is just incredible.
To do Premier, like I said, Premier League, and then surviving in the Premier League, to then going, we're gonna push and get into Europe, and achieve that, and you go, it's mind blowing, really, but still. It's a different beast, I guess, now, even to when you left a few, because what is it, six
2017. But it's had to, you know,
of course,
you know, that thing about being, you know, top 10, and you're going, can you? But the way they've done it has just been incredible, and the whole back up of it, and you know, the recruitment, the way they pick managers, you know, the just the day-to-day running of it, it's just incredible, and they've done so well. When you think about going to be playing in Europe, because that comes back to when we were selling the seats with the Aussie guys, and we're in League One, getting crowds of 7,000 people, and part of the package back in the day, you know, for the first 5-year spell was, I think European games were included. European games, but now it's come to fruition, and you look at the way they play and the way everything's run from top to bottom. It's the best. I mean, said it a lot. You know, it's the best run club in the Premier League by quite some way. But to see them having a European game at the Amex is nuts.
It's been an amazing journey. It's crazy for me coming, because like I say, I come down to Brighton 2010, and I remember going to. I had the salons. I was just doing some stuff with Albion in the community. That's why I was at the Withdean game. That's why I remember that last one with Gus there and stuff. And then you go, and then was there at that first game at the Amex, and you see like just all the flags and everything. Buckley, who come on done the 24-hour podcast with me, and we. Like talking about that day, and he said like still one of the best days ever. We scored in the last minute, didn't he, to win it, and you just all them magical moments. And as I come new to it back in Dagenham, you know, and it, you know, never followed Brighton, and then you get into it, and just everything around Brighton and the community, especially the business community, especially I suppose, is that love the club and just so passionate about it, and seeing what they've achieved. It's just
such a great industry to be involved in, because there's always something to talk about. And there's always something happening, and that thing of just everyone's so invested in it, and so many people.
And for you, I guess, was there that, again, back to that transition, slight advantage to others where you obviously already had the, like we mentioned, the 9 to 5, but then actually still the transition, because you're still involved in football, you're still involved in the club in some way, shape or form.
It helps, because you're still getting your little football fix.
Of course.
And again, I was in a really fortunate position where, you know, I knew a lot of the managers, and again, you sort of take it for granted that, you know, all the things we used to, you know, go in these restaurants after the game to grab the players for, you know, the man of the match presentations, and you build relationships with the different management teams that come in. So you get it's a real privileged position to be behind the curtain, if you like, of you know, pro sport. Really, really good fun.
Oh, well, look, I want to. We're going to just jump back into the life in 60 seconds. I often talk about the challenges that we've faced in our lives, in our careers, and stuff like that. Like knowing you as I've done, and knowing what a great career in different areas you've had, but has there been some challenges? Would we, if I gave you the 60 seconds now and said talk about a challenge and what that impact or what you learned from that, what would you say?
I lost a close pal around, it's been 9 years ago. Kids went to school together, used to do the school runs together, and then suddenly, you know, he's not there. I think that sort of really focuses you on you, you know, what's important to you, because there's all this fluff, isn't there? You know, when you knock it down, you know, what's important. You've got your family, people who are relying on you, your network of close people. I think that was probably the thing that actually, there's so much just noise goes on that when you strip everything back, what's important to you is it's a small number of people, and a big number of people as well. You've got a bigger network. I'm really lucky. I've got a lot of really tight pals and people who I've worked with. You start off as meeting people at work, and they become really close pals as well. So I think it's that thing of just something happens that makes you understand what's actually important, and it's your close family, how you treat them, how they're getting on. Just the box, if you like, becomes a little bit more defined.
That's really interesting, and especially listening to you talk again back to the career you've alluded to, the different careers you've had that you've actually enjoyed and loved and all them things, and actually still come back to that point of in life what is the most important thing, and it is family, friends, the relationships you've built within that period, and that's what's important. There's money and all the other bits and all the other stuff around it is just noise. And it's
money's a funny one, because pick a number, 70 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand, 100 grand, 110 grand. That little number doesn't really make any difference. It's different if you got 2 million, 3 million. But all these things about, I think lockdown proved it to a lot of people about what's actually important, and it comes back to that, nearest and dearest, the people close to you. Who cares if you got a car on the drive that you can't drive that's costing you 800 quid or whatever? I think that sort of clarified a lot of things for people. We used to go out all the time eating and doing this and that. You go, actually, a lot of the time you go out, it's not great. So you start cooking more, doing all these things. That's, it's all about what's close to you.
No, I agree. Then how was your, done a little bit of the journey around the football club and that growth and the excitement and stuff around that, but I guess I'm just keen to as well look at that period, because obviously you would have left the club just before they'd gone into the Premiership, so they just got promoted to the Premier League, right? And then what in that point where you were there, and obviously you went in, from that you started Cube, and it's what an incredible journey that's been the last 6 years, and how amazing that's been and what you've achieved with that. But tell me about then your mindset just around that period when, was there a point where you thought, I'd like to have gone into the Premier League with a club? Was there a point that you gone, just tell me about that.
Football makes you, the biggest thing is resilient, so you can control what you can control. So I can quite easily compartmentalize stuff. So Sutton gone, Sheffield gone, Notts County gone, Wigan gone, Brighton gone. So you go, you can't control that, so you just have to, that's gone. You've got to just look forward and see where your next successes are. That thing is, people talk about it all the time around the controllables. Right, that's done. Nothing you can do can change that. So let's look forward and find a new path. That's, you're wasting your energy and wasting your time thinking about things that you can't control. So that's been the biggest one, about all the time. Just keep, what's ahead.
Keep moving forward. It's such brilliant advice, and because it's so easy, I guess, to get caught up in that sometimes. Where you,
what if I'd done that? You haven't. And you didn't.
So deal with it, move it, and like you said, always looking forward and going, okay, this is the situation I'm in. I'll make the best out of this situation, which you certainly have done. I mean, look, Cube, what a brilliant journey that's been the last 6 years of, and again back to that that thing right at the fundamental start of your story and your journey of being at school, being in around people and having great people around you and doing that you've created a business out of being a great person, knowing people and being able to connect people.
Yeah, but it comes back to the big numbers game that it's got to work. They'll pay, a client will pay X, they expect X plus, and you can never be complacent around.
Yeah.
You've always got to make it grow and make it work. The relationship thing is brilliant, but you've got to make them all work.
There's got
together.
to be value in that. Of course.
With everything, it's always around the value. And you're running a business as well. You'll think you're going down the path. That path suddenly comes to an end, and you go, okay, you've got to find another one. And something, if you've got a good enough network, there'll always be something that you can sort of focus on then to get moving forward again with.
Yeah. No,
because nothing's ever just going to keep going. No. There's always going to be challenges for different businesses across different sectors. We saw it during lockdown that suddenly you got 8 clients and suddenly 6 of them can't work. So it's the challenges around that. You very rarely, everything's going exactly how you want it to.
But again, back to that lesson that you're saying about, it's actually going what and the pandemic was the biggest sign of that, wasn't it? Is what can I control, what I can't. None of us can control a global pandemic, can we? And that was, you're chucked in at that deep end, and I've just got to deal with what's in front of me, and in the best way, and look forward and go, right, how can I navigate around this? And you just try to think slightly differently to the next person. And that's where, again, back to more so than ever, I think you'll agree that community and having those people around you was so important at that point, and realise how important actually within that, because it was a tough time for a lot of people, that pandemic, but you surround yourself with great people, it helps you through.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. Mate, listen, we're sort of coming towards it, and it's been, I knew it would be just brilliant to share your story and how amazing. Like I said, we could do part 2 and we'll come back and we'll delve into some other stuff. But it's been, we're finished on our last sort of life in 60 seconds bit. Like the main reason I guess, for me, starting the podcast, I spoke about it a lot. And in the introductory episode, I say, look, the tagline's been, I want to help the world to see success differently. So I'm keen for this last point, the last 60 seconds. How do you, looking at where you've been and all the things you've achieved in your incredible life up until now, and where you're still looking to go, how do you define success?
Looking forward, that bit is great for another time. You can sit back and think how great that was, but that's not going to, that's for another time. It's that my sort of focus is just look forward, see how you can develop the business, see how you can help clients develop theirs. Everyone's got a different journey that they want to go on as well. So it's understanding where they want to take their business or do that thing. I think that's always the way. Just
always look forward.
Enjoy that bit. That was great. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is, nostalgia is a great thing, and it's great to, like you said, probably sit around and chat about, especially for you because of the amount of stories that you've got to share, not just from your football career, but stuff, I guess, the city, and you probably still with your pals that you still in touch with at the city, your bands still talk about them things, and you look back at all them moments. The same at the club with the commercial stuff and all of that journey. But actually, they're great moments in your life that you will take positives from, and then. But that's that, and now I'll look forward.
But it's all about everything there. It's all about learning. You've learned every time you make a mistake or whatever. You learn, don't you? And that's that thing of I'm in the fortunate position now of doing what I'm doing because of the last 20 years of learning what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, sure.
So.
What? Just before we do then, what if I was to say for our listeners listening, what from your football career, what would have been your biggest learning from that environment that you've taken into business?
It's all about the manager. The manager controls everything. So whether you're the head of the business, you set the tone, you set the culture. You've got to get everyone. It's difficult in bigger businesses, but you know, if you're running sort of smaller teams, 10, 20 people, you've got to get everyone invested in the journey. Everyone invested in the business. If someone's not there, you know, same, you've got to be ruthless, same as football is. If you're not come, you get cut. So that's the biggest one around businesses. People talk a lot of it around, you know, the football team and that sort of thing, but you've got to get the right people in the right places and be ruthless enough to ditch people if you don't think they're going to come on the journey with you. But that's one of the biggest challenges around any business is running the people and getting them all invested in where you want to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the bloodline of getting the culture right, getting that. It's the bloodline of a business, isn't it? And who would then be your the best manager you played under? Who gave you that? Did you feel that you?
It's weird because they're all so different. Like Dave Bassett was just aggro. He just old school. You know, we had him, and I was used to dealing with that environment, whatever. And then I went to Notts County. We had a similar sort of manager there. And then I went to Wigan with a manager, John Dean. Remember, played for Aston Villa. Just one of the nicest guys ever. Completely different to what Harry was. Harry's a great guy, but they just dealt with the team thing similar. I remember I got suspended. 3 of us got suspended. He said, right, you've got to come in Saturday morning before the game to run. So it's punishment. It's always what you do. And so I'll come in my office, and he made us a cup of tea and gave us a biscuit and said, oh, we'll go out and do some work now. And then we play crossbar challenge for 10 minutes and then come in, and everyone's going like, that's not what we're expecting. But everyone loved him, just wanted to do well for him. I think that's that, you know, the key as well is, can you get people to understand you and get them on side? And people do it in different ways. But that's the great thing about that sport thing, is everyone's so different the way they do things, but all trying to achieve the same thing, if you like.
But then that's really interesting that you mentioned it like that, and obviously you responded well to that sort of environment. And have we seen it a little bit more coming into football, and there's talk around soft skills and what that, you know, you've got the one end of the scale, the Alex Ferguson hairdryer treatment to, you know, someone who maybe puts their arm around someone and deals with that. What's your take on that in regards to, mate, is there more of a place for soft skills in?
100%. Yeah, that thing of, I always look at it like the guys who are teaching us, or who are our managers, grew up in the 80s, 90s. That's what football life was like. It was tough, you know. It's, you know, straight talking. This is what you do. If you don't do it my way, you're done. But society's changed. You know, generations have changed. You can't deal with people how you used to deal with people 25, 30 years ago. And you have to get more. Understand them more than what you used to. I think comes back to that, people are wired differently. People behave differently. Me and you, got some things are the same, others different. So you can't treat 11 people saying just the team. You can't treat them all the same. You've got to get into them about, you know, what makes them tick. Information, that sort of thing. I've been with players that you can tell, put something visual up and they get it. Talk to them about it, they don't get it, because they're wired to think like that, not so much the sort of dialogue and interaction bit. So you have to treat people differently, and like we said, society is very different around what it was 20, 25 years ago.
And I guess so much of that, like you mentioned, is how much of that is within the business environment as well. And it's back to that right thing that you said that even at the start with the education system, that people learn differently. It's the same in business, exactly the same in football, in sport, in anything. People will absorb content, absorb information, learn in a different way, and it's that's how, again, back to the, right at the start of the conversation, back to the curriculum and the education system, how that needs to change in some way, because people will learn in a different way, and we need to be able to tap into that.
Yeah.
Mate, listen, what a brilliant conversation. I've loved every single minute of it, and I could look. We will over a few beers and a bite to eat at Gars. We'll carry on conversations for many years to come, I'm sure. But it's been such an honour to have you on, and look, as a mate, getting to know you over the years as well, and for all your continued support of everything I've done. I'm so grateful. So, mate, this has been awesome. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Sam.
Mate, you're a legend. And that, as they say, for the first episode of Different Hats, is a wrap.